Drugs and alcohol for me started in my early high school years, but there was always something a little bit more important to kind of outweigh it for me. Like, for example, football or academics in high school were more important because I was good at those things, and they were kind of important to me. After athletics ended my senior years, whenever it really took a dive, I started using meth heavily, started manufacturing meth heavily, and started distributing it heavily.
How old were you?
When I started in this full bore, I was probably about 18. Went to school at Stillwater. I still got a college scholarship on academics, still graduated as a valedictorian in my class and all that. But at some point at Stillwater, it just kind of was like the drugs started was more important. That lifestyle was more appealing to me than trying to maintain any type of a, socially acceptable lifestyle. And that's where it started getting pretty bad. See, I did that for a while, and everybody's either dead or going to prison. And I said, man, I gotta do something different, And I was trying to get clean, and I ended up meeting a woman, got married, and quit, I wasn't living for God, but I wasn't using drugs, and I wasn't drinking. And I thought, this is what God wants, this is how you're supposed to do this. You find a woman, you find a reason to straighten up, and you do. And when I look back now on that time of my life, I was miserable, man. I wasn't seeking recovery. I wasn't seeking a relationship with God. I was just not using drugs. So in essence, I still had all the craziness going on in my brain, but I don't have the drugs to cope with it now. So in a way, I was almost more miserable. I was getting material things. I built a house, I had a daughter, things like that, things that the world says you should be happy, but I was not happy. I was miserable, I was dying inside. And then needless to say, whenever my reason for getting sober, which was my wife at the time, whenever problems started coming in that relationship, then there's no more reason to stay sober. And so, one thing led to another. She got a protective order. I got told I couldn't even go in the house that I built. And I remember thinking, you know what, God, I tried it your way. I tried doing it, what society says I'm supposed to do, and it didn't work. I'm done with you. I'm done with my fellow man. I'm done with all this. I'm going back to what I know. Selling drugs, fast money, getting high, and whatever it takes to keep that lifestyle going at a pretty high level. And that's what I did. That insanity in my brain, I couldn't even attempt to work a normal job anymore, so I went straight back to selling drugs. And I remember thinking, man, I got to get out of here and deal with this divorce. And so my plan was to manufacture a large batch of meth, sell it, and I was just going to go to California or something. And I ended up getting stopped in Sand Springs with a lot of chemicals that you shouldn't have for a tail light or something, blinker, I don't know, and got arrested. And I remember at that point thinking, kind of felt a relief, like, I don't know, it was weird. So I went to jail. They held me there for about 6 months without bail until I finally went in front of a judge, and I took what they call a blind plea, which means you waive your right to a trial, you waive your right to an appeal, whatever that judge says on that day goes. But you get a chance to speak in front of the judge. And I remember all the whole time I was in jail, every night, I was praying and I was working on my speech, and my whole family was in there, and I got my chance to speak, and I'm in my oranges, handcuffed and everything, and I spoke, and I felt like when I got done, they should have given me an Academy Award. And it worked. The judge, the lowest the state would come down was like a 15-year sentence mandatory that I served 85% of it. And the judge granted me a deferred sentence, 7 years, which means if you don't even get in trouble over the next 7 years, you're not even a convicted felon. And I couldn't believe it. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. And he said, don't let me see you back in this courtroom for anything. I'll put you in prison. Don't make me regret this decision. I said, okay. Got out. Man, I don't even think I made it a day. And I was back. I was getting high again. for the next, I think it was 2 years, I wasn't manufacturing drugs anymore. I figured out that I could buy them for a lot cheaper and just resell them. But that's what I was doing, and doing it so much so that it got the attention of special law enforcement, you know, like a gang task force and DEA, things like that. And to summarize, I ended up getting jammed up less than probably 300 yards from where we're sitting right now. It's just right down the road here. And I was in a spot where they said, you're either going to work for us, you're going to die, or you're going to go to prison for a very long time, and we don't care which one it is. And I believed them. And I said, I didn't know what to do. I said, man, take me to jail. That was the only place. I felt safer in jail than I did in the position I was in right there. And I noticed one of the officers, his shirt said gang task force. And I thought, man, that's weird. I'm not in a gang. And anyways, apparently I was selling enough drugs to gang members that it got their attention, and that's why they were there. So they're saying, you know, you're gonna have to work for us and get these gang members arrested, or, you know, we're gonna throw the book at you. We don't care. We don't care if you get killed or whatever. And at the time I thought, man, if I go to jail right now, I've got so much other people's money in play, I'll get killed in jail. If I sit in jail, you know, if I tell them I'll work for them where I'm not in jail, I'm gonna get killed. I just didn't see any option but death. And I remember finally I was ready to talk to God again. I remember praying and saying, God, I'm in a spot, because I didn't tell them I'd work for them. I didn't tell them I wouldn't work for them. I just said, take me to jail on whatever charges, and they did, and I bonded out, and they're texting my cell phone wanting me to do this or that, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm going crazy. I'm thinking somebody's going to find out what's going on here, and I don't know what to do. And I remember thinking, God, the only way I'm going to get out of this alive, you're going to have to help me in it. There's no way I can, my best thinking, my best doing, lying, cheating, stealing, whatever, is not going to get me out of this jam. My best thing won't even get me just in prison. I'm going to be dead. If I can come out of this alive, I know that you're there. You had to have a hand in it. And it was shortly after that prayer, probably the next day, maybe a day after that, I got a phone call. And I'll never forget, man. I answered that phone, and the woman's voice on the other end sounded it just calmed me. And she was at 12 and 12 Treatment Center. She said, we have a bed for you, and he talks. I mean, it still just gets me emotional thinking about it. And I thought, I didn't call them. I don't even know how they got mine. I just remember thinking, okay, you prayed, and here's an option. This is the only door that's open. So you're gonna walk through it, Nathan. It's it. So I said, okay, when do I gotta be there? And she said, you gotta be here Monday at 10 a.m. And I remember this was not on Monday. I remember thinking, I don't know, it seemed like such an insurmountable task just to be at that spot, you know? And I remember talking to my parole officer from that previous charge, who I had been ducking and dodging for the past 2 years. And I said, man, I got to bed at 12 and 12. I got to be there Monday at 10 a.m. I don't even know if I can get there. I was like, I just want you to tell me that if I don't come see you first, you're going to put me in prison, because I trusted him. And he said, okay. So I went and seen him first Monday at 8 a.m. That was enough motivation for me to get there, you know. And we went from there to 12 and 12. And I checked into detox. That was August 28th, 2016. That was the last day that I've had any mind or mood altering substance in my body. It wasn't long after that. They have a church service there in treatment, but I really felt like God said, start a Bible study. And I'm like, man, but I just told him I'd do whatever he wanted, right? So I did it. And that was like my first step to just God putting something on my heart and me doing it. And only 3 people showed up, but all 3 of those guys prayed that prayer in treatment and accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior. And I didn't have a clue what I was doing, man. And I just remember, that's the first time I thought, man, if I just walk through the doors that he opens, everything's going to be all right. So, you know, I go through treatment, I get into transitional living where they expect you to have a job, and I got this bright idea that I was going to start a company. I'm according to the state, I'm designated as homeless. And when you're living at 12 and 12, they consider you homeless. I don't have a vehicle, I don't have a license, nothing. But I decided, I really felt like God said, I want you to start a company. And I was jogging, training for this half marathon at the time. Whenever that thought came to me, and I was like, what kind of company am I going to start? I'm having a conversation with God. And I almost got ran over by a lawn trailer, and I thought, that's it. I can do that. Anybody can mow lawns or rake leaves. And mind you, I don't have any of this stuff, right? Well, on the weekends, I'd go visit my parents, and my brother-in-law, he used to mow lawns on the side, and he's there, and he's like the only one in the family that hadn't wasted a lot of energy on me trying to help me previously, you know what I mean? Because he's new to the family. So, and he works nights, and I'm like, hey, you don't work during the day. You got a truck. You want to make some extra money. We can do this deal. It's winter. We can do leaves, man. And I think just so I would shut up, he was like, I tell you what, if you can get some customers, I'll help you. And I was like, done. I'll do it. And so, wouldn't you know, some guy that I went to high school with, he's got a house in Bigsby and had tons of leaves. And he's like, I'll pay you to do my leaves. I'm like, all right. And what would take me like 2 hours now, we were over there for probably 12 hours, man. We had no equipment. We had a tarp, a rake, and that was it. And a trailer that we borrowed from my dad. Little bitty trailer, and it got so full of leaves. It was on a Sunday. I didn't know where to dump them. So we ended up driving down a dirt road while I'm in the back of the trailer just heaving leaves out. And my brother-in-law gets nervous every time he sees a car, so he hits the brakes, and I go flying forward. I mean, I got leaves. I mean, I'm thinking if I ever get out of this trailer, I'm going to kill him. And, finally we get the leaves out. We have to do that multiple times, by the way. And that was where it all started. That was my first job. And that was where it started. And I was still living at 12 and 12. And one thing led to another. And I thought God was putting it on my heart to start a company so that I could go to college and set my own schedule. And what I'm learning out now is I feel like He put that on my heart so that I can help people that are in the same position I was in. Fast forward now, we've got like 3 trucks, 4 trailers, all kinds of lawn equipment. We have real customers that pay us real money to do real services that are not illegal. I mean, it's a huge step from where I was, man. And I have people that work for me that this is the first time that they've ever done that, And it's just so cool. I mean, they're every day we're learning that we can do new things, I mean, it's like I know for myself and a lot of the people that work for me, they feel like when you're that little kid and your parents are like, you can do anything, you can be anything. I mean, we're really learning that and feeling that and learning how to do it without drugs and alcohol. My dream for my company, man, is one day I want this company to be such an organization that everybody wants to work there. So much so that we have actual applications and people need to fill out applications. And on the top of that application, I want there to be 2 check boxes. One says, have you ever been a convicted felon? And 2 says, have you ever been addicted to drugs or alcohol? And if you can't answer yes to one of those, then we don't want you. Because you got plenty of opportunity out there. I want the guys that have fallen. I want the guys that hit rock bottom and then got a jackhammer and went a little bit deeper. And they're like, you know what? I need help. And that's the people I want. That's the people that I've got. And we're a family, man. We doesn't even feel like work every day, It's because it's not about raking the leaves or whatever. It's about helping this guy and showing him that, man, you can live. You can develop a relationship with God and let Him guide your steps, and the sky's the limit. I mean, it really is. And when you see that spark come on in them and they're like, whoa, yeah, I can do some things. Man, there's nothing like it. It's pretty cool. And don't get me wrong, it hadn't been all rainbows and unicorn farts since I got clean and sober and started living for God. I've had some things happen. We've had to deal with loss and going to court to get to see my daughter again and setback after setback. But through it all, God's given me that peace in the storm, and I'm able to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. What's next, God? What's next? Okay, I can do that. I can do that. And showing other people how to do that is, it's more of a blessing than doing it on my own. When you get to watch it from like a third-party perspective, you're just like, wow, look, go, man. I had a guy work for me not long ago. He still does some, and he was almost 30 years old, and he never had a driver's license before in his life. He'd been working for me for a while, and I said, hey, man, what's it going to take to get you your driver's license? He said, I don't know. I guess I got to take the test. I said, you never even take the test? He said, no. And so we went and he took his written test, and then we went and he had to take the driving test. And while he's taking that driving test, man, I was so nervous. I was pacing back and forth. I mean, it's just like he's my kid or something. I'm like, man, oh my gosh, if he doesn't pass, what are we going to do? And stuff like that is so cool, man. You know, and that's not about work. That's just building people, man. Building people. It's what I'm learning, what it's all about. So.
And get me all weird. Don't be weird. Dang it, Nathan. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I am too, man. Oh, you want to know how I got to Foundations Church?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So we started this company, right? And I've been doing lawn stuff, and somehow we got a call about a fence. Hadn't really built any fences before, and there's this guy named Steve who goes to church here. I think his last name's Mooseman or Moosebaum. Steve Moosebaum has a fence that needs replaced. And so we show up. He lives in a pretty nice neighborhood. He's got a nice home, beautiful home. And I pull up in this beat up truck, and I've still got that devil's still back there saying, man, you ain't nothing. You're just a drug addict. If this guy knows anything about your past, he's gonna run you off his property. This is what that devil's trying to tell me. But you know what? I'm just like, shut up, you know? And so we go up to the door and meet him, and he's just a super nice guy, man. And he shows us the fence, and we shoot him a number. I mean, before it's all said and done, it's like he didn't even give me the opportunity to screw it up. He's just like, we're doing this deal. Here you go. Here's some money for materials. When can you start? And I'm thinking, do you realize who you're giving money to? You know, you would not be handing me this money if you knew what I was doing just a year ago. And he was just awesome. That's just all I can say. He was just awesome. And so we show up, you know, we do the fence, and it was just such a wonderful experience. Not too long after that, he said, man, you guys should come to church. And I'm like, you know, I mean, it was just such a great experience. I almost felt like I had to, you know. And I had started getting back into church, but I didn't have a good church family or a home church. And he told me where it was, and I got on my phone and I Google mapped it, and I seen that it was less than a quarter mile from the last place that I got arrested. And that was a bad, and I almost didn't come. I thought, man, that's a big deal going back into that neighborhood, you know. And
Good morning, Foundations Church. My name is Casey, and this is what's happening.
I have no idea what happened.
I was like, it's not even morning.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, I guess it's sorry.
That's all right.
You're good, man.
So anyways, I almost didn't come because I seen the neighborhood it was in, and I thought, man, that's a big step. I didn't even want to think of being in that area. So I did, though. I went ahead and came, and gosh, it was just I felt at home, you know. I felt at home. I didn't feel judged or anything like that. And through talking with Steve, he figured out, or I told him, I think part of my story, you know, that I was a recovering drug addict and everything. And he was like, he didn't blink an eye. And I thought, wow, if there's more people in that church like that, then that's where I want to be. And I started dragging people with me, you know. And it's pretty cool because the people I first started bringing with me, for a while we had so many people coming, and none of them had vehicles, you know, none of them had a driver's license, but now they're all starting to get their driver's license back, and they're starting to get their own vehicles, and they're bringing people. And man, sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 rows filled up here on Sunday morning, and it's awesome. You know, I've got that the sky's the limit attitude. I'm thinking, man, I want to bring enough people that they have to make our own service for us, you know. And people think I'm crazy, but nobody thought that a junkie in my situation would be doing what I'm doing today. That's statistics say that doesn't happen, you know. Supposed to be dead or in prison. But I ain't dying anytime soon, man.